Welcome, everyone, to Health Coach TV. I'm your host, Dr. Shauna Menard, and I'm here with the amazing Tara Fuchs. Hi, Tara. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, we are going to have a fabulous episode today. If you are someone who's ever struggled with weight, if you've had a thyroid issue, anxiety, panic attacks, alopecia, and so much more, autoimmune, Tara's your gal. So she is going to bring it today, and she's going to share her words of wisdom. I'll be sharing some before and after pictures of her because she looks all good now, but it wasn't always that way. And we'll dive into that. So let me give you a proper introduction. So after battling her own anxiety and panic attacks for more than 30 years, so 30 years, Tara Fuchs has discovered how to break free and truly heal. She's always had a passion for how the body works, which led her to a master's of science in clinical physiology. Smart cookie here. Seeing others who were struggling led her to complete a functional nutrition counseling certification so that she could empower individuals to take control of their own health and well-being. She lives on the Front Range of the beautiful Rocky Mountains in northern Colorado with her husband and 3 wonderful children. So welcome, Tara.
Thanks so much. It's good to be here.
We're going to have a really great time today. I know you are such a wealth of wisdom. So let's dive into it. Tell us, what is it exactly that you do? How do you help people?
Yeah, so I help women who are silently suffering with anxiety, panic attacks, autoimmunity, hormone imbalance to become healthy from the inside out so they can confidently take control of their life.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So, and it seems like there's more and more people struggling with all of those things. So how people came into this line of work is always fascinating to me. So what had you get into this line of work? Tell us a little bit about your story and your experience that led you to do what you do now.
Yeah, I would love to share. Ever since I was a child, I've struggled with anxiety. My condition was so severe. There were times really that I wasn't physically able to be in a room with a group of people or even leave my house. I treated anxiety with medication, but as we all know, there's all kinds of, things that happen with medication. I was still experiencing the panic attacks along with the side effects. And during that time, I was also diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which is low thyroid functioning, and alopecia, which is an autoimmune condition with symptoms of hair loss and high anxiety. I learned to live with my hypothyroidism, I really wasn't knowing the implications that it would cause in the future, but I did, however, start the steroid injections to treat the alopecia. And it didn't cure my anxiety though. And after months of asking, like months and months of having these steroid injections, I asked the doctor, how long am I going to have to do this treatment? And her response rocked me to my core. She said to me, "Oh, I'm not sure, but sometimes indefinitely." And indefinitely, I'm pretty sure that there's another answer. I was missing out on everything. I mean, I was missing out on date nights, kids' sporting events, family trips, time with friends, really just life in general. I was missing out on life. And for this to be indefinitely was not acceptable. I had to find an answer. So I avidly researched. I was really desperate for a solution, knowing I was not going to accept the indefinitely. And I was amazed to realize the important role my gut played in my health. Who would have thought that the answers for my head were in my gut? But that's just what it was. And I started to make these dietary and lifestyle modifications and really treating food as medicine, adding in nourishing foods, eliminating those that exacerbated disease. And gradually and steadily, I got my life back and everything started to really fall into place. I went from literally hating my body. It was very sad, to an entirely new outlook on life, loving how I felt from the inside out.
Awesome. I just love your story, and your story has resonated with so many people. And when people just meet you now, they don't know all of that backstory. And I'm going to just share my screen here and share. There was a Facebook post that you posted, I think it was last year, and it just struck a nerve, hit people in the heart. And they were like, oh my goodness, I can so relate to this woman once they knew where you'd come from. So let me just share my screen here. So this was the post here, and people could see your before picture. And I know that people that knew you through me, for example, had only seen the after picture. And they're like, well, it's easy for Tara. She doesn't know. And they had no idea all that you'd been through. And look at just the reactions here, like 481 people. Like, that's a lot of people reacting on one post. And you don't even post that often. I was looking, it's pretty easy to find this post of yours, Tara, if you go back. And so it's not like you've got this, thousands and thousands of followers, and you're posting every day. And it was this one particular post, and you said, hey, long post alert. Like, I'm just going to bring it. And because you knew many people hadn't known of your story. And it was just following Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and that whole incident at the awards ceremony. But suddenly people knew what alopecia was. And otherwise, most people didn't even know what that was. And so it was bringing it into the awareness, and people didn't know that you had suffered from panic attacks or hypothyroidism or any of these things. And so you really knew, for any of you, if you want to look Tara up, you can look her up on Facebook, and we'll talk about how you can reach her afterwards, but Facebook or on Instagram. And you'll see that she doesn't post that much, or at least at the time of this recording. It's pretty easy to find this post. But just this before and after, there's your 3 beautiful kiddos and your husband. And it's just been, incredible touching to see your story. Anything that you wanted to add about your before and after image, or anything, or this post at all?
I mean, the only thing that I would add, and you kind of, I'm just reiterating what you said, which was, not many people knew I was silently suffering, even as a child. No one knew, and honestly, I hid it from everyone because I thought something was wrong with me, and I didn't really want anyone to know that I had these tight throat and it was a voice, right? I wasn't able to have my voice. I felt like I couldn't speak out and tell my opinion on things, or I wasn't able to just be myself. And that's totally different now, but yeah, that's really all I would like to add.
Yeah. I mean, just an incredible story of a before and after, incredible story. So I encourage people, if they want to check that out. Let me bring us back to our regular screen here. Okay. So that's an incredible transformation. And we'll dive into what some of those things are, but everybody's thinking, all right, how did you do that? How exactly did you go from point A to point B? Because you had struggled for 30 years, so that wasn't working. So how did you do that? Tell us more about that incredible journey, or more about your story.
Yeah, such a great question. Well, it started with anxiety, panic attacks, which I've mentioned, digestive distress, gas, bloating, sharp pains constantly when I ate, even as a child. Weight gain, exhaustion, really bad headaches all the time. Not migraines, but bad headaches. Adult acne, but childhood acne as well, and hair loss. And the key things I found were really making diet and lifestyle modifications significantly reduced my systemic inflammation.
Yeah. So there's lots of stuff. Like, you've got like a whole grab bag full of, America's top 20, I don't know, of symptoms there. What was the worst part of it? Like, for you, of all of the things that were going on, what was the worst parts?
Yeah, I mean, I think those signs and symptoms, if one was stronger than the other, that was the worst at that moment, right?
Right.
But
Yeah.
really looking back, I think I struggled the most with being overweight. You know, that was half of it. That was just half. But the other half was the anxiety piece.
Yeah.
In the middle of the night, crying out, wondering why did I have to have this? You know, lots of sleepless nights.
Yeah. And kind of wondering like what's wrong with me or why can't, will this ever end? Or, and just trying to figure out like, why am I like this? And then to be a mom and it's tough. And so you mentioned that, okay, you've obviously got the after picture and you mentioned diet and lifestyle modifications. Can you tell us a little bit more about because a lot of people modify their diet and their lifestyle and they don't necessarily get that. So tell us a little bit more about how did you do that? What exactly did you modify or what did you do?
Sure, yeah. I really focused or I really made three things a non-negotiable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Improving sleep was huge for me. I mean, like a consistent bedtime, which I say this like when I first thought about this, I was like, I have a consistent bedtime. But when you actually are intentional about logging your bedtime, you look back and go, I don't think I'm going to sleep every night at the same time. And then my circadian rhythm's off, and that just leads to a whole slew of things. And then off screens at least an hour before bedtime, but sometimes before that. And not everyone has to do that, but it's huge for people who really struggle with mental health because it leads to so much of, everyone's heard of the blue lights. And yeah, okay, well then I'll just change my screen color to another light, right? But it's not that. It's that our mind is getting a light, period. And then our body's not able to make that melatonin. Balancing my blood sugar was number two, of the non-negotiable. Anti-inflammatory diet was really what I strove for. Just really reducing any inflammation in my body. And then lastly, I really looked at regulating my bowel movements. I actually did suffer with constipation and sometimes like once a week. And so really bringing in more fiber, but also other tools to use for regulating the bowel movements. And these three areas were the non-negotiable and allowed me really to get the results that I desired. Whereas I'd struggled with my health since childhood previously, before really focusing on those three non-negotiables.
And I think that's really what it requires is that moment, that line in the sand where like you're like, okay, non-negotiable, and you have those. You can't have everything non-negotiable. Lots of things, yet everything can't be a non-negotiable. Stuff is negotiable. But when you keep it simple like that, and really be honest with yourself because you might think you're logging a consistent bedtime, but when you actually look, and nowadays, literally like our phones are right beside us all the time, and often it's our alarm clock, and so it's right there. We plug it in, so it's going to be fully charged for the next day, and it often is what wakes us up. So it's right there and it's so tempting. And you get different, notifications or, different things that will alert us, or it's addictive. Some of it's addictive, or maybe
Very.
it is that form of maybe entertainment or socializing that you didn't get to in the day, and it's a slippery slope. And I think, but then to realize how big of a difference that makes, because people are like, well, it's not something I'm eating. So, and really to appreciate sleep and the impact that it has. So, okay, so you made these three core things, non-negotiable, your sleep, the balancing your blood sugar, which is tied in with that anti-inflammatory, and then improving, regulating bowel movements, improving your digestive health. We're like, these are the areas I'm focusing on. So tell us, what are some of the results that you got as a result of these non-negotiable lifestyle, modifications? What are some of these results? And we can see that there was a weight loss, but I bet you there's a lot of things you couldn't see. And give us some more specifics. So what happened as a result of following this new plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there was a lot. Not just the weight loss. That's with seeing with the eyes, but the feeling, right, physically. Mentally, I had freedom from fear, worry, and stress, which I mean, I battled all, most of my life. Increased self-confidence and self-esteem. I mean, sometimes I would think that I was scared of my own shadow, and it didn't show. In front of others, I was very confident, overly confident, but isn't that what we do? That's a protective mechanism. But deep down in the root, I was scared of my own shadow. So just these changes really allowed me to have the self-confidence that I need. Soothe the gut, no more gas, no more bloating, no more sharp pains. That's uncomfortable. And in the middle of the day when you're socializing with others at lunch, that's not fun. 55-pound weight loss, which was huge. I think that helped with my self-confidence, but I also believe that the anxiety, being mitigated. Increased energy to show up for my family, right? That's like why we're here, is to grow, and we grow with those moments with our family, and no headaches. So that was stopping me from really living my life. And then, this isn't the biggest thing, but it was huge for me. It also comes with confidence, I think, but glowing, clear skin and hair regrowth was really huge.
Yeah, huge transformation. Just and so much of that resonated with people. So that's just it's truly wonderful and fantastic, Tara. And so, is that experience what had you decide to become a health coach? Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I started my company, Functionally Well, to bring the healing that I have received to others so that they can also have healing and can have total health freedom. And it is definitely a calling that I am so passionate about.
Yeah, that's awesome. So tell us a little bit of like, who do you work with? How do you work with your clients? Like, how does that all work? Tell us a little bit, give us a little glimpse into what that looks like.
Sure, yeah. Most of my clients are dealing with digestive distress, anxiety, some panic attacks, low
Mhm.
self-esteem, even fatigue, excess weight gain, headaches, irritability, mood swings are huge too. And they just don't feel themselves. Repeated over and over, clients just say, I don't feel myself and I want to feel better.
Mhm.
I work with them very closely, primarily virtually, so it's really easy for anyone, anywhere.
Mhm.
There's no wasted time, and there really is plenty of accountability and support, but also they learn exactly what to do to get on the other side of whatever their health challenge is when they work with me. And the most important is that they get the results, because I am 100% committed to their success. So as we work together more closely through an individualized, customized process, they come out on the other end really having that soothed gut, the inner peace they've been really hoping for, confidence, more energy, weight loss, their headaches are gone, or at least reduced, but mostly gone, and
Mhm.
joy. I think that's huge, right? Joy, and they're educated. They are going to have the tools that allow for sustainable transformative results.
Yeah, oh, that's awesome. So, whenever I'm speaking with an expert in their field, you have your own story, your own decades of experience, and then working with all of these others and communicating and sort of being immersed in this area. I always like to glean from your front lines knowledge on that. And a lot of times people go, there's some myths that people have about this condition or that condition. And quite often that's preventing them from actually getting the results. So for you, what's the biggest myth or myths that you see when it comes to some of these things like anxiety or autoimmune or thyroid or even just weight loss? What are some of the things that you see that you're like, this is what's the block that people don't realize with the people that you're dealing with?
Yeah, I think the myth with the anxiety is that a person is, really predestined to have it because, it's genetic. I hear it a lot. It's genetic and
Mhm.
there's nothing that they can do for it except take medicine. It's hard for most people to understand that.
Mhm.
Although they are predestined genetically, that may be true. They can absolutely change the trajectory of their health and really ease their anxiety naturally through the diet and lifestyle modifications that I've mentioned. I mean, really, I'm living proof. Like now
Yes.
I'm also not encouraging anyone to just get off their medications on their
Yes.
own. It's important to work with, a practitioner when removing or titrating off of a medication. However, it is beneficial to dig a little deeper to get to the root cause instead of kind of masking it with a band-aid.
Yeah. Yeah. Good point. Yeah. Anything else? Anything else?
Yeah, I mean, what comes to mind is, a myth with thyroid is that once the thyroid is malfunctioning, there's no way to reverse the damage done.
Right.
And that is far from true. When the body is not functioning properly, it's usually due to inflammation caused by external factors, whether it be environmental, nutritional, chemical, or behavioral. All of these and many more factors play a role in your gut health, which in return is the thermostat for the body's systemic inflammation. And then, a myth that kind of comes to mind on autoimmunity is that once you have an autoimmune disease, you can't get rid of those signs or symptoms. And I mean, everything I say is true but partial, right? Like
Yes.
that might be true that you have an autoimmune disease. But once you have an autoimmune disease, you have that awareness for life, but it is not true that you have those signs and symptoms that go with that condition. Like it's just in your mind. It's like you can't unknow that you have this autoimmune disease. It's
Mhm.
the same with someone having cancer. They can't unknow it. That isn't that's not what defines you. That's not
Mhm.
what defines you as a person. You can easily mitigate signs and symptoms by changing the terrain of the body, particularly the gut, with diet and lifestyle modifications. I know I sound like a broken record, but it really is true. And that will in return reduce the inflammation.
Yeah. I mean, I think what you are offering people is hope, and more than hope, a strategy, a plan that works well with whatever else they got going on, however else they're working with their healthcare practitioner. It's not interfering with that, but people are like, well, what can I do? Like, because this, whatever treatment, it's not doing it. So many people are still suffering with all of these symptoms as you were for decades.
Yeah.
And the pill was not doing it, and you were still struggling and suffering, and yet you don't need to suffer. And I think it's really important that we do interviews like this, because as you were saying before, like nobody around you knew that you were suffering like that, and I think a lot of people are suffering silently. And so that's why I like to interview some of the health coaches, experts like yourself, so that if somebody is struggling with that, you're not alone and you're not crazy, and there is hope, and it can be better. So you mentioned there about reducing chronic inflammation. Why is that so important?
Well, first, I'd like to kind of preface this with a little bit of background education. There are really two types of inflammation. There's acute inflammation. So if you were, hammering a nail to
Mhm.
hang a picture and you missed, ouch, and you hit your thumb, what happens acutely or quickly? That's acutely, like
Right.
you have usually four physiological signs that take place: the redness, pain, swelling, and or heat.
Right.
But really what I'm speaking about when I speak about inflammation is chronic inflammation, which is also known as silent inflammation or systemic inflammation. When things swell, they need repair, and we know that. However, this swelling is internal, so it's just below the pain threshold, so you don't really feel it. It manifests as certain signs and symptoms, but you don't really feel the actual swelling inside. And the inflammation can cause a whole slew of things, but one important challenge is it can disrupt the microbiome your gut, and cause your digestive system to be compromised, which we all know that as leaky gut in the health world. But
Mhm.
for those that are listening that don't know, leaky gut is really caused from inflammation in your body. Your immune system is attacking itself. And when your digestive system isn't optimal, it can cause absorption issues and lead to vitamin and mineral deficiencies. Eventually, the deficiencies lead to any of the following manifestations, but not limited to these particular ones: but food sensitivities, gas, bloating, constipation, chronic congestion, or like postnasal drip, allergies, loose stools, autoimmunity, headaches, skin irritations. I mean, it could be eczema, it could be rashes, it could be those little dry bumps that we think we just have dry skin. We just add some more lotion to it. ADHD signs and symptoms can also manifest. Anxiety and depression and hormone imbalances are huge.
Yeah, yeah, that beautifully said, Tara. And I think for people listening, it explains why that diet mentality, just the eat less, move more, is an oversimplified approach that's not really getting to the leaky gut, the poor absorption, the vitamin and mineral micronutrient imbalances that have this incredible effect. And that's awesome. So, what are a couple of tips that you could share? So, let's say there's somebody out there and they're suffering from one or all of these things. And they're like, well, that's really great. I need help now. Like, so we're speaking to them in their living room. This person's out there. And what are some tips that you can share that can help people get on the other side of this?
Yeah, that's so great. That's so great to get someone started right now. Yes. So first, I really like to focus on bringing in more fruits and vegetables and water. I call this the crowding out
Mm-hmm.
phase, and it's fruits and vegetables contain many healing and nourishing constituents for our body that help remove free radicals, and free radicals cause inflammation. I think people mostly are walking around going, does everything cause inflammation? I mean, no, that's good news. Not everything,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe the things that we're doing as a society. And inflammation can disrupt the microbiome or your gut, and about 95% of the body's neurotransmitters are housed in your gut. So the disruption to the neurotransmitters can really cause an offset and manifest as the anxiety, the depression, despair, loneliness, panic attacks, ADHD, OCD, stress, worry, even fear, and the list goes on. I'm not saying that is exactly what causes them. There can be external stuff, but we also know that inside our gut is really wreaking havoc on us with the immune system. And then drinking more water is helpful to flush toxins. That can also cause inflammation. The toxins can out of the body. So our body is made up of 75% of water, and breathing and sweating is just one way we lose water content. So if our body's made up of 75% of it, we need quite a bit of water. And if we're losing it by just talking, just sweating by, even a hot day outside, that can really cause problems. So hydration and more antioxidants help relieve a burden from your liver, which is doing so many jobs within the body. But one big one is storing those vitamins and minerals that I just recently mentioned that your body may need at a later time. And if your liver is just bogged down with toxins or inflammation, it's not able to do its normal jobs. And when we are deficient in the vitamins and minerals, it can lead to the signs and symptoms that I previously mentioned. And people really aren't able to connect the dots. Why do I not have energy? Maybe because I haven't drank water, which is it seems crazy, but just start drinking water. You'll feel it. And then headaches can lead to, oh, I love that. Yes, you grab a drink of water right now. Yeah, headaches can lead to those things too. So another tip is working to really balance the blood sugar. A balanced blood sugar can decrease anxiety, it can increase energy, balance other hormones, soothe the gut, reduce emotional eating, mitigate headaches, and much more. A huge culprit, though, to spike blood sugar is, you guessed it, that refined sugar. And I mean, it's addicting. So it's really hard to get on the other side of that. But I help you do that. But it is an anti-nutrient, the refined sugar, because it's been stripped of all nutrients. There's not a single nutrient in it. And on top of that, it takes a significant amount of those vitamins and minerals in our storages to metabolize the sugar. Most people are consuming a significant amount of supplements, not even knowing that those levels will never be optimal when consuming refined sugar. And one more little fact about sugar is It suppresses the immune system for up to 5 hours. So if you're continually consuming sugar, you're around the clock having a lower immune system, which brings more inflammation, but also provides an opportunity for illnesses to develop.
Mhm.
And then another tip I'd like to really encourage people is exercising. It is huge for optimal health when struggling with mental health. Most of us live a very sedentary lifestyle, sitting at our computers like we are right now, or at our desk, yeah, with barely any movement. And exercise is great, but not if the rest of your day is stagnant. So a lot of people are like, yep, got my exercise in for 30 minutes, got it in for an hour, and then they check out the rest of the day and they sit at a computer. What is really effective, though, is spreading out our movement throughout the day. I work from home on Zoom all day, most weekdays. So in order for me to get steps that I need in, I'll go for a walk after each meal, sometimes even after a snack. And some people are like, how do I even do that? It just starts. Honestly, I just set my alarm on my phone to remind me, because how do you start anything? I mean, now we're walking around with our phones and we have alarms. Like, that's how, and now I don't even have an alarm. I know. I mean, now my kids know, oh, time to go walk. And they are walking with me. So not only are we getting more steps in, but we're teaching our kids to do the same instead of being addicted to those video games or anything. And this might seem so trivial, but really my clients experience huge benefits from it. And last, but not certainly least, I recommend having a tool belt of options for reducing stress. Stress management is a huge factor in our health. So I'm going to say something. Exercising daily, drinking copious amounts of water, and being, conscientious of our food choices will not be enough to keep you healthy, to keep the listener who's ever listening to this healthy. If you do not know how to manage your stress, anxiety, worry, fear, or even the depression, these emotional health issues, they really can cause more harm if left untreated and kind of stuffed down, more than like eating a Big Mac every day. Definitely not encouraging to go to the nearest fast food burger joint, but one could wonder, if an individual eats really good for their body and yet they still have the health challenges, it really would be foolish to not look into the level of stress that they have and how the body responds to that stress. Now, the good news is that there are tools to manage your stress to reduce the mental health challenges, and I did that. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty much what I would focus on first.
Awesome. Well, that's tremendous. And yeah, it is important, managing that stress. It's kind of, I always used to say it's got veto power. Like, you can be doing everything else right, but if you don't have that dialed in, and most of us are stressed and most of us are sedentary. And especially coming out of the last few years that we've had, even people who are active before kind of lost their stride, kind of got, I mean, it takes a little bit to kind of get back into your routine or a new routine that supports that health. So those are really great to get people started and on their way. One of the things that I know is our bodies are all connected. So when you improve one area, there's like a ripple effect. And when one area is lacking, there's the other opposite ripple effect. So when I'm talking with people who work with people, and I always like to ask this, because it's not uncommon as you're helping somebody with weight loss or anxiety or something like that, that there's like a ripple effect. There's a spin-off benefit. And so what are some examples of spin-off benefits? So these unintended bonus gifts, if you will, that you've seen maybe with clients that you've worked with?
Yeah, such a great question. You know, I think back to a client that I had last year who is a working mom that was experiencing digestive issues. She was having, lots of heartburn, gas, bloating, sharp pains, constipation. She was having a bowel movement about once a week. She felt miserable along with anxiety. And she had major she had few panic attacks, but major headaches and weight gain. So we worked on diet and lifestyle modifications, and she was a very good student. She always was willing to try a recommendation that I gave her, even if it was like, and she wasn't 100% on board with it. she would show up on time at every session with many wins to share, which was awesome. And I loved her positivity was so contagious. And some wins were small, like, she was able to wake up earlier so she could get a walk in. And some were huge and life changing. She was able to, leave her house today with no digestive distress. She lost 30 pounds. Even her personal growth, her spiritual life, like, it increased significantly. She really was a whole new person. But not only that, her marriage got better. When we first started working together, she had really stressed that, her marriage wasn't in shambles. It wasn't awful, but they just weren't on the same page. It was like it's kind of weird to say, like, she was vibrating at a different level than her spouse. And she had been focusing on her health challenges, and her relationships were really strained. And her husband and her boss, the negative ripple effect was mounting. And then, as she improved her health and her inner world, working on the inside piece, her outer world changed, and her marriage got better, her work got better, relationships with her children were better, and everything improved as a natural consequence. She said, like, I'm like a fairy godmother. Like, I just point it and it happens because it's all positive. And so it just kept growing and growing. And just recently, I actually heard from her. And after working with her for I think it was about a year ago, almost a year ago, she's still experiencing those benefits today of this sustainable lifestyle transformation. She loves how she truly became healthy from the inside out.
I love that. I mean, it's so life changing, really life changing, marriage saving, job saving. I mean, it's just so wonderful. And what a great role model she's setting for her family as well. And then she just gets to actually enjoy and live and enjoy her life. And when you think about it, when people are really struggling and in pain, so much of their energy and focus obviously is going to be focused on that at the expense of their spouse, their work, their children, their hobbies, their passions. And so when we get on the other side of that, it just frees up all of that so that you can actually have fun and enjoy. And so, the better it gets, the better it gets. So wonderful and so worthwhile to addressing it. It's so much more than weight loss, for example, but that's a big piece of it. It is a big piece of it because that's the thing that people see from the outside. I know that's the piece that sometimes people see in your story. And, but the gifts just keep on giving on the other side of that when you do it right. And it's not just a quick fix Band-Aid, but when you really get to it. Wow. And that's a testament to the wonderful work you do. Well, it's absolutely amazing to have had this opportunity to speak with you. We dove into a lot of different topics, anxiety and panic attacks, alopecia, which is something that's unique that not a lot of people address. And then, of course, thyroid, autoimmune, blood sugar, all of those kind of things. So lots of topics that we've covered here. And you did that so beautifully, Tara. So how can people, if they're wanting to find out more about you, what you do, follow you, how can people connect with you or ask questions?
Yeah, absolutely. So they can visit my website. It's www.functionallywellwithtara.com. I also they can visit my my Instagram page. It's Tara_Nicole_Fuchs. Or they can visit my Facebook page, which you did show that it previously, but it's Tara Burris-Fuchs. And then lastly, if they want to email me, I'm happy to give my email out. It's functionallywellwithtara@gmail.com.
Awesome. So functionally well with Tara, TARA.com is the site, and probably that's the best hub to go to. But thanks for sharing your social media handles there in case they would like to do that. And then on Facebook, it's Tara, TARA, Burris, BURRIS -FUCHS. So just if you're looking for Tara, that's where you can find her. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you. You are making a tremendous difference in this world, not just in your own life and family's life, but in the lives of others. I've seen and heard some of the stories of people that you've helped, and I just commend you for shining your light and being this woman of service. And you do it with such compassion, such gentleness, but such confidence and knowing that you can guide them to these better lives and better health. And it's just, I just thank you for the work that you do. So thank you so much, Tara.
Oh, thank you. It was such a pleasure. Thanks.
Awesome. Well, that's it for this episode of Health Coach TV. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you have questions, you have topics that you're wondering about, how can I get on the other side of this? Please drop us a comment in the notes, and we'll be sure to interview an expert on that field. So with that, have a phenomenal week. And of course, be good for you.